All right, good afternoon, everybody. Just want to introduce myself. My name is Melissa Robbins. I am the CEO of the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. This is the first session of our 30 Minutes of Excellence. We're going to host one of these sessions every month throughout 2022. And the basic concept is we're going to try to keep this pretty informal. We're going to do a lot of dialogue with you guys, so please utilize the chat function if you have a question or comment. I'll go through 6 or 7 slides and kind of give you the meat of the information that we want to disseminate during this training. And then we want to have, like I said, an open discussion. We've got some special guests who will be joining us from Department of Labor and from some state apprenticeship agencies. So feel free to, ask them questions. Once we're done with this session, it is being recorded. We'll post it. So anybody that wants to go back and watch, share it with a colleague. And then we'll also follow it up with a written report, some Q&A. So anything that you guys put in the chat, we'll try to get those answered if we can't do it within these 30 minutes. And that way you guys can go back to the Q&A. So thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. Today, we're going to talk about the difference in OA and SAA states when it comes to registered apprenticeship. And I want to talk a little bit about what started this, why we're doing this. NAWDP is one of the partners in a center of excellence that the Department of Labor established last year. And we're on the System Alignment Center. So there's 4 different centers. We each have different primary focuses. Our center focuses on those 4 areas: developing sustainable partnerships, providing technical assistance on a national scope, engaging our key stakeholders, and coordinating all of the federal and state investments that are out there. This is a heavy lift, so we're not doing it by ourselves. SOFL is leading this charge with the center. Like I said, NAWDP is one of the main partners, along with the Wireless Infrastructure Association, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, the National Disability Institute, and FastPort. FastPort and WIA, you guys might notice, though, they are intermediaries in the registered apprenticeship world. So let's get started. The apprenticeship system. It's like a paragraph of information, but we want to highlight that the apprenticeship system consists of 2 types of entities that are responsible for overseeing registered apprenticeship programs throughout the United States and territories. Some states are OA states, and some states are SAA states. And the purpose of this training today is to talk about some of the similarities between the 2 and the differences between the 2, and why that should be important to you depending on what state you happen to be in. Here is a map of the United States. All of this information that I'm bringing to you today, you can get on apprenticeship.gov. I would highly recommend you guys go out and look at apprenticeship.gov. It will, you can see this map, you can see this in list form, but this should give you a good visual. And it's broken up. There's definitely not a big difference in one or the other, but this just gives you a visual way of seeing which state you happen to be in, or type of state. So now let's talk about the Office of Apprenticeship, or OA states. Here's some key things about those states. OA states register and oversee program in states that don't have an SAA through state field offices. In some circumstances, and we'll talk about this in a second with discussion, OA may register a program in a state with a state apprenticeship agency. The staff members are U.S. Department of Labor federal employees. They register all programs through standard documentation, and they use the RAPIDS system. So let's talk about state apprenticeship agencies. They are recognized by Office of Administration to act on behalf of the federal U.S. Department of Labor to register and oversee programs. Staff members are state employees. They may utilize standard federal paperwork, or they may use something that's specific to their state. And again, they may use the same rapid system as OA, or they may use a unique state system. Now I'm going to talk about, introduce some of the folks that are on the line. Jackie, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And if you can spotlight any of those folks that we currently have on the line, that would be great. I see Lisa. Lisa, how are you? Lisa, while Jackie's doing that, do you want to share a little bit more about the center and kind of the work that we're doing through these sessions?
Sure. Thank you very much. So Melissa and NAWDP is a partner of ours, and I work with Soffel Partners on the Center of Excellence. And the whole idea of this is for us to help you guys get more aligned with registered apprenticeship programs. And when I say more aligned, that means how can you use WIOA funding more? How can you actually engage businesses more? How do you work with your community colleges to get these things off the ground? It's, you know, you name it, we're here to try and help provide a lot of that technical assistance. And we're still working out all the bugs of trying to figure out how do we grab all this information. But I can tell you one exciting thing. We announced it actually in Apprenticeship Week, and that was that we're putting out a call for best practices. All of that is in the works right now for final approval. So watch your emails, especially coming from NAWDP, because they will be sending it out for us. We will be putting out the call for best practices. There's some really cool stuff that we'll do with it if you're one of the selected people, or I should say entities, to be chosen for your best practices. So I'm going to end it with that, Melissa, and let you introduce our lovely speakers, one of which, Susan. Hey, Susan. Nice to see folks here, too. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Awesome. So Susan, we can only spotlight two at a time. So I'm gonna take Lisa. We're done spotlighting you for today. Maybe not today, maybe just for the next 5 minutes. But I'm gonna also add Dean to the spotlight. While she's doing that, Susan, you're from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So that overview, the overview of those, the SAA and the OA and those differences, anything that you would add to that? Was that pretty spot on?
Yeah, it was. And I probably would just only say that it, as an SAA state, if a larger program wanted to come in here, we have ways of working with them. We have reciprocity, and we have a good discussion to see how we can help. Most important, as you know, is making sure that employers get the workforce that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Susan, in Florida. And this is my fancy way of not being able to pronounce your last name. So introduce yourself.
Absolutely. My name is Susan Bazuski-Eber. I'm in a very unique position here. It's a grant-funded position, but what I bring to the table is interesting. By the way, I did study for, take, and held for 2 years my CWDP certification. So that gave me a great deal of knowledge that I bring to the table in terms of workforce boards. Also, I spent 10 years at a state college. So working in workforce there and creating internship programs and apprenticeship coordinator for the college on an AAI grant. So fast forward to here I am at the state level. And my position is, like I said, unique. There was never a position like this before. It's an apprenticeship outreach specialist. And what I do is I just say in 3 words, I educate, I connect, and I support. Um, I educate employers on how to work the model, what works best for them. I have access to Rapids and to other resources. I build business cases because I want them to know it's a paradigm shift, and I want them to be aware of that as they build their sustainability, really taking a hard look at their strategic plan. I connect, which means I connect, and Saffol's been great. I've worked with Lisa, I've been working with Katie. I work with all the intermediaries that come into the state to help them navigate the statutes for Florida, which make us the SAA state. I also decided a long time ago that when I first came on board early on, that there was a need to connect with all this money coming in and with intermediaries and different stakeholders involved. So two things that I took into consideration. One is I got permission to put together a program called a group called FRAT, which is the Florida Registered Apprenticeship Team. It is the 24 workforce boards. So there's an individual on each of the workforce board, and our 8 ATRs, along with folks from Career Source Florida in Tallahassee. And we came up with a mission statement. And what we're trying to do is to really help people work together, connect those dots in what our ATRs do, what our workforce boards are doing, so that what we really do is to synchronize our efforts to help everybody in the state, all the stakeholders, but also our employers pull together. The second thing I did, the second initiative I kind of looked at and asked permission to go ahead and go forward on. We have a group here in Florida called the Florida Apprenticeship Association. It's tied to FACTI, love these acronyms, which is the Florida Association of Career and Technical Education. This organization has been in existence for a very long time. And as you know, our apprenticeship programs were mostly comprised of construction and trades. With all of the changes coming in and sort of the new flexibility and the new industries and the new emerging occupations, I had asked permission if I could connect with the president, look at the bylaws, see if we could adjust the mission statement that would become almost like a crowdsourcing support system for our current registered apprenticeship programs. Received the green light on that, worked with the president of FAA to revise, sort of tweak, looked at what needed to be done. She made those changes, brought in the rest of the older members. It was approved. And now it is anytime a new program comes on board, they receive an email from Natasha. She invites them to join. I believe it's like a $60 membership fee. But what it does is it's starting to help us build that infrastructure for those existing registered apprenticeship programs that will help them move, if they're on grants, off grants, onto sustainability. If they're working with subject matter experts that are from the intermediaries, helping them then to integrate themselves into the state, looking at best practices. How is recruitment working for you? Tying them into the workforce board, we have plans to create separate webinars, giving them legislative updates. So really, I think what we're focusing on here in the state of Florida is moving straight ahead with registered apprenticeship programs, but figuring out best ways to connect all of the pieces internally so that we're building an intentional infrastructure. And of course, taking advantage of you amazing intermediaries to help us do just that.
Awesome. So please go ahead and utilize the chat. Let us know in the chat if there's other states that have, some of those statewide apprenticeship teams, apprenticeship associations, those networks. But let's jump over to the OA side of the house. We have Dean with us from Region 5, who's the Region 5 director. I think we also have maybe Maria Brady on the line from Region 3. She's our multi-state navigator. But Dean, so, definitely there's a difference in how OA and SAA states operate.
Yep.
Anything that we missed in those differences that you would like to add?
No, I would think you hit most of it spot on. I mean, I would think there's the one difference for some of the SAA states is the fact that in the national apprenticeship system or working through OA, if they're going to register a new occupation, we have a system we go through and vet it, and it becomes nationally approved. Each of the SAAs have the option, such as the lady that spoke from Florida. The Florida SAA can register an occupation without going through our vetting system. So they have an option to have additional occupations approved. I would say that's one of the things that is a little bit different, but most of what you put down about the OA states or the SAA states is pretty spot on. I would just add that in the Midwest region of the 10 states that we have Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Missouri, and Wisconsin. And the 4 SAA states that we work with are Kansas, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. We have a great relationship with all of them. And in some cases on national programs, we work in some of the SAA states. We train some of the SAA staff on Rapids or the EEO component that we work with. So I'll stop there and see if you have any other questions at the moment.
Well, yeah, just a real quick clarification, and then I'll jump over to Maria. So if you are in a OA state, all of the programs in that state are federally approved. SAA states may have programs in that state that's state approved, not necessarily federally approved.
Yeah, I mean, in the majority of state, in the majority of the apprenticeship programs in the SAA states are registered in the state. But as an example, we have a national program with Ford UAW. And if there's a plant in Ohio that Ford has registered, it's registered with our staff, and we service that program because it's a national program.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, great. Maria. Maria's been a long time help and partner to NAWDP with All Questions Apprenticeship. So, you know, what you saw us laying out some of those key differences, and then what Susan and Dean have added. Anything that stands out to you on a major difference between an OA and an SAA state?
Well, if I may, I would like to flip that around and talk about the major similarity and there, and kind of jump off from there. And the major similarity is that both OA states and SAA states are going to follow 2929, which is our shorthand version of 29 CFR Part 29, those federal regulations, and also 29 CFR Part 30 for equal employment opportunity. So everyone has to follow those federal regulations. Now in SAA states, they have to have their own statute that basically implements the federal regulations. And we look at those every so often, for instance, every 5 years or so. So I wanted to just say that we all follow the federal regulations, and then the SAA states have to kind of make it their own, and we have to approve it.
Okay, gotcha. So as far, let's talk about contact information a little bit. If you are in an OA state, and I think we're going to try to add a Deborah, who's also from an OA state, which is Missouri, where I'm talking to you from. But if you have an apprenticeship question and you're from an OA state, where do you start? Who can you call or ask? What's our best bet?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, well, if it's an OA state, I'm sorry, but the answer is going to be, it depends. It depends on your level of communication infrastructure with apprenticeship staff. For instance, you may know that there is an ATR or an apprenticeship training representative in your immediate vicinity who works with your local board, in fact, in which case, you know, you would call that individual. Now, if you're not sure who to start with, then by all means, go to the state director. And I'd say that whether it's an OA state or an SAA state.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, Susan, so Deborah, if you can hear us, if you don't care to turn on, there you go. Now we can spotlight Deborah. She's turned on her camera. So Deborah, you're from Missouri, you're an OA state. So ATRs, but you are the state director for Missouri, and all OA states have state directors, is that right?
All OA states have state directors as long as they haven't retired.
So tell us a little bit about what you do in Missouri.
I'll tell you, my primary function is, as far as I'm concerned, is to support my staff and to work with the state workforce boards to make sure that registered apprenticeship is available to all employers and that all apprentices and applicants are treated with quality. So in a nutshell, that's what my job is. We currently have 3 ATRs in Missouri. We're hoping for a 4th one. And we've been working, I'm going to tell you, we've been working really diligently for the last 2 years on better quality. And when I say that, I'm just going to say that we had some programs that we were able to merge where we had several that came from the same trunk, whether it be from a college or an intermediary, large companies, large providers that then had employers that they could pull in. Each one of those were registered separately. And so we've been working to bring them together, to make it more efficient for our staff, since we are short-staffed, and easier for the sponsor. We want to make sure that all these sponsors have all the information they need so they get a good quality program and they have high-skilled individuals who complete it.
Yeah, that's good information. And it brings up a question, Maria, while I've still got you up on the screen here, maybe you can help us with this. So intermediary, we've used that word several times on the line. Tell us what an intermediary is.
Depends who you ask. An intermediary, actually, I should know the official definition. I don't, maybe Dean or Deb do, but an intermediary basically is an entity that is a go-between, if you will, between the employer who provides the on-the-job learning, the structured mentoring, and the related instruction provider. Now, an intermediary organization can in fact be the sponsor. They could hold the standards and have many different employers sign on to their standards as signatory to those standards. Dean, what am I missing about an intermediary? You're on mute, Dean.
Sorry about that. I'll defer to Deb, but she can give you an example of one she worked
Okay.
with within Missouri.
So my definition of an intermediary is a non-joint group of employers that have a same need. So they may all need, let me get rid of this. They may all need CNAs. They may all need IT apprentices. And so they join forces. They may utilize the same related instruction, but they all have the same occupations that are needed and the same skill sets. So instead of each company trying to build a program, what they do is they find, maybe reach out to a community college that has a program, or a large company, maybe it's John Deere, and they join their program. So I'm going to give you an example of something that works like an intermediary. So what an intermediary is, a non-joint apprenticeship program, right? It's a group non-joint. We also have group joint, and you would refer to those as the union programs. We've referred to them as JATCs. So they all have the same trunk of a tree. They all had the same structure, but then each one of those have participating employers.
Okay. And so
So it is the non-union's answer to a union's structure,
Okay.
in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And Maria actually pointed out, she was like, I think that's code for non-union. So, okay, so fantastic. And I think, Jackie, if you could add Lisa back in for us. So, you know, I think overall, really what we want to express during these 30 minutes is it is important for us to actually have system alignment with registered apprenticeship and workforce development, because that's what we're after, guys. This is the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. Our Center of Excellence, DOL, has tasked us with partnerships and alignment with the workforce system. So it is super important as a workforce professional for you to know some of the basics about registered apprenticeship, and that includes what kind of state you're in. Are you in an SA state? Are you in an OA or SAA state or an OA state? Because that will allow you to start understanding some of the finer tune things that need to happen in your particular state. We are going to, I think we've dropped some links to apprenticeship.gov to that map that you guys can see. We're going to also drop some links, and some of this will come to you after the training. So like I said, you guys are getting 30 minutes of this live. I'm so glad that all of our special guests could attend. You don't always get to talk to folks from the regional offices, multi-state navigators and regional directors. So that it's pretty neat to be able to spend that time. But we'll try to link you guys to some contact information, ATR information, whoever it is in that hierarchy that you need to know if you have questions in your area. That's the work that we're going to be doing over the next 3 years. We're going to build out some of that technical assistance so you guys know what's going on, and we try to help with that system alignment stuff. Lisa, I know we have actually another 30 minutes of excellence in February. That is geared all around FutureWorks. So guys, I'm going to hit you with some big numbers and tell you why this is important. If you look at the latest Pearl data, and that's nerdy talk for all of the participant information that we all put in, over 2.2 million enrollments and 2,700 were co-enrolled with registered apprenticeship. We have to close that gap. So that's going to be one of our huge tasks. But if you join us in February, we're going to have Ken Ryan and Jeff Smith walk you through some of their public for free dashboards that they've created. So you guys can start interacting with the Pearl data. You guys can see some of the performance that's happening in your area and around the country. Again, that session is free to you. The dashboard that they're going to show you is free. And here's why it's important. If you tell them what you want, they're willing to build out more free dashboards for us to use. So we really need to get on there and tell them some of the information that we want to see. I think we'll be able to drop that link to the registration in the chat as well. Lisa, any final words?
So one of the things that you'll see during these 30 minutes of excellence is that I will put in, or Jackie or Melissa, one of us will put in a question for you guys, and it may feel very awkward to answer, but please just go ahead and answer it. I mean, like I asked, do you know who your person is, even in your states? I got one brave soul who said, I don't know who it is. I went for 10 years in Florida. This is pre-Susan. I didn't have a clue who OA or SAA was. I didn't know how to reach on apprenticeships. So don't feel embarrassed about this stuff. This is a learning process. We're all about lifelong learning here. And this is exactly what we want to hear from you. If you are like, I don't know who it is over here, great, no problems. We want to try to reach back out to you to say, well, here you go. Here's some information. Here's how you get in touch. Always a good idea to have these conversations. We want to hear from you guys whenever we do them. February, click on the registration now because this session is going to be mind blown. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And just to follow up on what Lisa said, you guys can always email me or anybody here at NAWDP, melissa@nawdp.org. If you don't feel comfortable putting a question in the chat, especially when we have folks from DOL whom we love and are very grateful for, but sometimes we don't like to ask questions in front of you guys.
Understood.
So,
We get a little scared sometimes. Yeah.
So you guys, you can ask a question in the chat. You can private message me in the chat. You can send me an email. And what happens when I put out that report after these sessions are done, nobody gets identified as who asked the question. All you're going to get is the answer. So I think that makes this interesting too. We'll dive in and we'll ask those questions under anonymity, and we'll get the answers and we'll get that back out to everybody. So please, please, please ask those questions. Again, our 30 minutes is up. Dean, Maria, Deb, Kathleen, Susan, thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, follow-up questions, melissa@nawdp.org, and we will see you guys in February.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.